Another day, another tier list, and today you guys voted on doing Magical Nexus, so that's going to be the tier list video for today. I am a very big fan of the Magicals and a big fan of Magical Nexus, so this is going to be a tough one for me. I feel like there's not going to be a lot of bad ones, and I feel like there's going to be a ton of A's and S's, but I'm going to try to be as objective as I can because there's a lot of monsters on here I just like. They don't do all that much, and you'll see what I mean when we get there, but we're just going to start the ranking here with Theramine, which I think is going to be a nice C tier. He doesn't really do all that much for the island. I definitely appreciate what he does do, but again, you cannot have Theramine on this island, and you're not going to be too upset about it. Next up, we have Popette, and as much as I want to give this an S tier, I'm going to put it in A tier. I think this because like the little cymbal swells and stuff that he does, along with just the general percussion that he has, I feel like it's super important to the structure of the song. There's a lot of great accents, makes a lot of sections of the song pop out, and I feel like he's pretty needed for the song. I like him a lot. Next off, we have Bonkers, and I'm going to put him in B tier. I'm putting him in B because although all the parts that he does are pretty important, like you don't really want to get rid of him. A lot of other monsters kind of mimic what he does a lot of stuff similar. I do think that he does it well, but I think there is better than Bonkers. Next up, we have Juggler, and I really don't want to, I'll give this one a C because all he does is a little clack at the end of each section, but I feel like that's super important to the song. It's a nice accent. You kind of need it. I feel like it makes the song sound a lot better, even if it's just one note at the end of every section. I feel like it's pretty important. Next up, we have Tapricorn. I'm going to put them in B tier. They really make the intro a lot better, I feel. Or not like intro, but a little bit later in the intro. They have a pretty good sound. Nothing too crazy special. I feel like it's on the same level as Bonkers. Tapricorn's a good sound. Periscorp, I'm not going to put an S. I'm going to put an A tier. It's super important to the song, but when all the percussionists play, it doesn't play, which is interesting to me. I mean, it makes sense to me. All the other percussionists are very natural sounding things. They're not like techno drums, but I feel like Periscope does a lot of good stuff for the song. As I'm saying that, I feel like he should be an S tier, right? Yeah. Ruba, I think we are going to give a C tier. It's super quiet, near the intro, and when it does the duet with Fiddlement, I feel like Fiddlement just does it better. Gives it a nice accent, but again, it's only a C tier in my opinion. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it just gets kind of outclassed by some other monsters on this island. Next up, we have Gloptic. I'm going to give this a B tier because even though it's good, there are a lot of other string monsters on here, like Pluckbill, Wither. I feel like those are the main two. Also, maybe just the only two. But I feel like it does some good things, but again, Wither really just kind of puts it in its place. Pluckbill is fine, of course. I feel like it deserves to be because it's a lot less involved than it is on Psychic Island, but it does do some good stuff. Flutefly, we are going to give Flutefly an S tier. Really makes the intro. It sounds really nice on this island. I feel like it's just a beautiful sound. You really need Flutefly to make this song good, and I feel like that I'm very happy with Flutefly because on Faerie, I think it did a solid job, pretty good job. They really kind of shine here. Also, the animation is super funny when it's playing because it flies way too high and just covers monsters behind it. Hippity Hop, we're going to give it a C tier because I feel like it's kind of in the vein of the other monsters, Theramine, Juggler, not so much Ruba, but doesn't really do all that much. It duets with Denches, which is fine, but I mean, again, it's a nice duet, but if you don't have both of those, the song's not really going to change too much. You're not going to be missing it all that much. I feel like it sounds fine. I like Hippity Hop usually, but I feel like it's a C tier in this song. Next up, we have Squat, and I feel like this one is going to get an A tier. I'm really not a very big Squat fan. I'd put it very low on Faerie Island, but I feel like it really shines here. Again, when it plays with all the other percussionists, it does a very good job. But even in the intro and a little bit later, I feel like it really does some good work. You need Squat to have a good song. I like it. Whimsies, this is getting an easy S tier. It just sounds so good. I feel like this is definitely my favorite vocal on this island. Not a ton, so it's not like a huge accolade, but I still think it's definitely the best. You need it for the main verse. You really do. It just sounds great. It encapsulates the vibe of Magical Nexus super well. It's a very eerie sound, but it also sounds very pretty. I like it a lot. Next up, we have Cantarell, which really hurts me. I have to put it in the poop tier. I feel like this might be the only poop tier monster, but it is just not good. I don't like how weirdly loud it is in the full song. I know you can adjust it, but it's very loud usually. It only plays once, which I know is usually not an issue on a lot of islands, but by playing one time for 7 seconds, it's super short. I think it might be the shortest monster sound we have in all of My Singing Monsters. And I don't really like the voice change all that much. It was so much better on Faerie, and I feel bad that I have to give it a poop tier, but I feel like it has to go there. Next up, we have Bridget, and I think Bridget's going to get a C tier. I feel like her part seems a little out of place, honestly, but I don't really hate it. Although I think it's out of place, she does have a nice second track. I feel like that's pretty nice. But again, I feel like it's just solid. Next up, we have Clavinet, and I think I'm going to give them a B tier. They do some good stuff at the end of one of the main verses, and I feel like you kind of need that. It does as a good duet later in the song as well, which I think is nice. But I feel like the duet, the other monsters, a lot better, honestly. And I do like Clavinet a lot, but I feel like it's just a B tier on this island. Platy, I am going to give a meh tier. It's not all that good in my opinion. Again, it only plays once. The sound is definitely better than Cantarell's, but it just doesn't really add that much. I think it wanted to try to build up the end verse to kind of have a smoother ending to the song, but it just doesn't really work all that much for me. I don't think the sound is bad necessarily, I just don't think it's super necessary and super vital to the song. So as I assume you've probably noticed, a lot of these monsters are spread out between S and F not relatively evenly, but the rest of the monsters, Bone and Light, I feel like are where this island truly shines. I feel like there's going to be a lot more S's and A's, not a lot more D's, I imagine. I feel like Cantrell is probably the only F on this island. Clackula, I'm going to give an A tier. I think its animation is super fun. I like that it does so much for the island, even though it's not like a huge part, like it's just kind of clacking. I feel like it honestly puts in a lot of work for the song, like in a way that I didn't really expect for Clackula. I like the bunch of tracks. I love in the percussion only section how like hard it goes. I think that's fun. I think Clackula is an A tier. Next up we have Pechidna, probably the easiest S to give on this island. It does so much work. I love its track in the percussion only section. I don't know if it's like a chromatic scale, but it uses so many weird notes and it all works so well. I really enjoy it. And then it's like the backbone and just every other verse it's in. It's awesome. I love it. Also, its design is just adorable. I know this isn't really based on design. I just love its design. Dencho's, we are going to give I'm going to give it a D tier. I don't like its change in voice. Again, it doesn't do all that much like Cantrell. The duet with Hippity Hop is nice, but like I said, with Hippity Hop, you're not really going to be missing all that much if you don't have it. I feel bad because I like Dencho's a lot. It just doesn't do all that much here. Next up, we have Hollow, and I think he is going to be a B tier. Again, he's kind of one of just the many percussionists that do the same thing. Well, not really same thing, but do a similar thing. And I feel like he does it a little bit worse than some of the other ones like Squat and Popette. I feel like Hollow just does a little bit worse than the rest. So I'm going to give him a B tier, but I still think he very much shines on this island. Wither, another very easy S tier. You can't have this island without Wither. I love how much it does for the intro and for every other verse it's in. I'm very glad that they made it as OP as they did on Bone Island because I love this design. I love Wither in general. I'm very glad it's still an S tier. Next up, we have Uduk, and I think I'm going to give this one an S tier as well. It's a very subtle thing in the song, but I love its like shaky notes. I love how much it puts in for the background. You really need Uduk on NEXUS to make it sound good. It's a great bass because it doesn't have a castle bass. I feel like it has to be an S for that. Next up, we have Banjaw, and I think I'm going to give him a B tier. I feel like he does some solid stuff, nothing too crazy. I'm also realizing that he is a string instrument as well as Wither, and I'm also realizing that he was the other string instrument I forgot among Wither, Pluckbill, and Gloptic. I feel like he does some pretty good stuff, but he's definitely not A or S tier. Next up, we have Plinkjow, and I feel like this doesn't really do all that much on Bone Island, so it's like a little, I don't know, it's a little lopsided for me, but it has some good accents on this island, so we're going to give it a B tier. I feel like it deserves a B tier, doesn't do anything too special. I really enjoy how it sounds a little bit after the intro, how it accents the rest of the monsters super well. I think this is a nice B tier. Flores, this is an S tier. It sounds so amazing in every verse that it's in, and I love its weird eeriness that it brings. It has some great chords among some other monsters with its voice and with its music box. I feel like that's very cool. I love when monsters have like two different voices, which is why I'm a little bummed that Pechidna didn't really do like their voice on this island. It's okay. I don't really mind all that much, but that's alright. They're still an S tier, but it would have been nice. But back to Flores, I feel like it really shines literally on this island. And I'm glad that it's another backbone like Flute Fly. Next up, we have Bulbo, and as much as I want to give this a B or even an A tier, I think I have to give it a C tier because, again, it doesn't really do all that much on its own. Bulbo and Juggler have just a great synergy on this island. I really love their, not really call and response, but like after Bulbo plays, Juggler plays, it works super well. I love how it sounds. I really want to give it something more, but I know to be fair, it has to be C tier. Next up, we have Gob, and I feel like this is going to be a B tier. I feel like it does its job pretty well. It's another bass like Uduk, but I feel like another monster does its job a lot better that we haven't got to yet. Again, I think it has some nice chords, very eerie to fit NEXUS. I think that's good, but again, I feel like there's just a bigger fish that Gob has to tackle before getting up there more. Next up, we have Pluckbill. Pluckbill, I don't love all that much on Light Island because I don't think it does all that much, and even though it doesn't do all that much on NEXUS either, I think it definitely sounds better. They brought Pluckbill back for being a poop tier to being a nice C tier, and I'm very happy about that. The build up and the release that Pluckbill, Gloptic, and Wither have at the end is so nice. I love how that sounds, so I don't think I can give it anything lower than a C tier. Next up, we have Spytrap, and I think that this thing is an A tier. Again, it's one of the percussionists that all kind of work together in that one verse and work together throughout the entire song, but this one really shines. I feel like if you get it early, it's going to make the song sound so much better, and I feel like it does great work late game as well. I really enjoy it. I think it does great in every verse it's in. I know I've been saying that a lot, but I feel like that's just a big thing with NEXUS. All the monsters just sound great all together, which is something that I really enjoy. All the monsters work together. and I feel like that's kind of what My Singing Monsters is about, and I enjoy that. But yeah, I think Spytrap deserves an A tier, and we're going to move on to Fiddlement, which is another A tier. I really enjoy how this sounds. Its synergy with Ruba is super nice. It helps with the build-up and the release that Wither, Pluck, Bill, and Galoptic also share. I feel like that's awesome. That's great. Another great sound. They absolutely goat on Light Island. I'm glad they kept it as cool as it already was on Light Island, and I'm glad they transferred that to Nexus, and I just think Fiddlement's a great monster. I love it. Tutu. I was not a big fan of Tutu on Light Island. I'm not really sure why. My opinions have definitely changed. But on Nexus, this thing is actually just an S tier. It's so good. I love its animation. It's such a fun animation. I love the twirls and the jumps. It really does so much for the sections that it's in. Its duet with Plinkajow is great in the percussion only section, making it not percussion only. I mean, technically, because I think it's like a music box. I think that's a very nice duet. And that brings us to our last monster, Bloat. Another S tier. I feel like Bloat just sounds amazing on this island. It was brought back so hard from Light, and they even made the animations fun. I love how it's able to jump a little bit. I love how it lights up. I think this is just a great island for Bloat. It's another really good backbone. I enjoy that they changed the sound from a more like pulsing organ similar to Gob to something that has more punch, more sting to it. I really enjoy that. And I think that this is going to conclude the monster section of this tier list, and we are going to move on to the next stuff. So obviously Nexus doesn't have all that much to it. Doesn't really have obstacles or a seasonal event or anything like that. So we're just going to rank what we can about it. But before we do that, I feel like I robbed Bonkers a little bit. We're going to bring it to A tier. So to start it off, we have the Nucleus, which I am going to give a D tier. Getting all of these monsters up to level 18 is a tall task. It costs so much food, and the rewards you get from this thing are just not good. I get like 8,000 shards, 200,000 food occasionally. I haven't got a diamond or a key. I don't even know if you can get keys, but this thing is so inconsistent. I know people say you gotta wait longer, but I've waited like a week and it still gives me 8,000 shards. I don't know. It's just not a very good mechanic for this island. How much do you guys want to bet that when I click this button, my game's being weird, it's only going to be 8,000 shards. It's not going to be anything more, not going to be anything less. It's just going to be 8,000 shards. We're not going to get food. We're not going to get diamonds or keys or wild cards or anything else that's in that picture. We're going to get 8,000 shards because that's all this thing gives us. How much you want to bet? You have to subscribe if it's only 8,000 shards. It doesn't want to... Hold on. Just take it a minute. Hold on. Stay with me. How much you want to bet? It's going to be 8,000. We're not going to get treats, or we're not going to get diamonds. We're not going to get keys. We just get 8,000 every Oh! I got a key! That's the first time that's ever happened! Oh my god. Bring this thing up to an S tier. No, don't. Don't. Next up, we have the atmosphere and general island design for Nexus. This is an easy S tier. The island design is so beautiful. I love how it looks. I love how it lights up at the end. It gives the light elementals some good representation. It feels so magical. The stairs and the beautiful gradient in the background. I love it. I'm a sucker for blues and purples and all that stuff, and I feel like this works beautifully for it. I also love the little statues that they have, and the other thing that it has is the stair shaper, which I think is just kind of cool. We are going to give it a B tier. I think it's a cute design. I like that it holds the eggs while it's incubating. I think that's fun. But honestly, I don't have a huge attachment to it because even though I've read the lore, I don't fully understand it all that much. I know it's supposed to be some big thing, but I don't know. And finally, the word art for Nexus, we are going to put that in a B tier as well. I feel like the stairs of the S are super cool. I love the colors, but again, it's nothing too special. There's definitely better word arts. I think this is nice. I freaked out when I saw it in the trailer, obviously. I don't know. I think it's a solid word art. Can't complain about it, and I won't. So after removing the holding tier, this is what the final tier list looks like. Very top heavy with the S, A's, and B's. Honestly, I feel like all monsters on this island are great. I had to be harsh to some. I just dislike Cantarell. These two are just solid to me. Really, the synergy of everything else kind of makes this island. I feel like they all work together super well. And even though there's not exactly like a concrete structure to the song, I feel like what they've done with this song, it really works. It really just works well. All of the S tiers, I feel like I could put so many more monsters in S tier. I could move so many more monsters up. Actually, you know what? This is my list. We're putting Bulbo up. I really just like it. I don't know. I have to put it up a little bit more. Evens out the A and the C tier a little bit. Evens out the S and the B tier a little bit. I just think it's great. Going over to the overall ranking, we're going to put Nexus in an S tier. You could have probably guessed from how high everything was in this tier list, and I promise this isn't just recency bias kicking my ass. I genuinely think this is an amazing island. The animations look great, the monsters work so well together, they sound great, they're so fun, full of energy. The island design is great, all the vibes are great. I have no real complaints about the song. The only thing that I would change is just how currency works, because it's not all that good. I also don't love that every monster is like level 1 size when they get there, which, although is not a huge deal, I wish that you could like change the size or something. Not a huge deal, but just something I was thinking of. And I think that is going to conclude our tier list. In fact, no it won't. There actually is a critter on this island that I wasn't aware of. So I don't know if you can see it. This is my island. I don't know if you can see the critter right now. It's out there though. There's multiple of them out actually. And if you just zoom in really far, you can see that there's actually a butterfly disguised as the butterfly flowers. I didn't know that was a thing when I was making this. I apologize. I like it though. I'd give it an A tier. I think I got the poll thing down. The last video I accidentally posted at 3 a.m. instead of 3 p.m. So we're gonna not do that this time. The poll should be out at the same time as this video, so go ahead and check that out to vote on the next island, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. I'll see you.